All right, I'm gonna take you. I have meatball stuff in my hand. I'm making meatballs, and so there's meat juice all over my hands. But I picked you up with my arms because I just felt so proud, and I wanted to share this with you because I think I've had a breakthrough yet again. So let's give you some backstory. Avatars, right? I know I unload on a lot on you guys without a lot of preface, but I did warn you guys like a year ago when I was uploading all these videos and I was tagging Ken's YouTube channel. I was like, if you want to learn more, learn here. But I am happy to give you some backstory because I know enough now to be able to give you some backstory. And I think I was also just afraid of like butchering like how things are known or how things are. But being an avatar. I'm an avatar. What are avatars? Avatars are people that came from other planets for various reasons, for various individual, unique motivations to try to help raise the consciousness of Earth, to free the people of Earth. Because we heard the cries from from distant planets, and there was a call that Earth needed help, and her people needed help. So it's a little bit more nuanced and complex than that, but that's good for now. And so there's various things that were targeted. As soon as, well, they don't tell you, or maybe they did, I think it was known. What they don't tell you is that you will be targeted like hell as soon as you come to Earth. It'll be like a freaking witch hunt, okay? And so a lot of us are. Like, deeply we experience and are exposed to such horrific things as soon as we come into embodiment here that it messes with your psychology, and you start to create a certain psychology because of the trauma that you experience, because then it keeps you trapped here, engaging in the dualistic struggle. And so you may have been here for 1 lifetime or 2 million, you know. And so, I'm just rinsing my hands, and so there's a certain psychology that's formed, right? And I think a lot of avatars can resonate with the fact that, like, because of all of the consistent witch hunting and the separate selves, and maybe it was just only 1 lifetime that was such horrific exposure to trauma that it just scarred you for so many lifetimes to follow. Because, you know, once you become scarred from trauma, you become a self-fulfilling prophecy until you heal the trauma. And so I, like many avatars, were persecuted by being just ourselves, by speaking out, by being ourselves. And so you become you create these selves, these subconscious selves that keep you in this PTSD loop of being afraid to speak out. Being afraid to speak out. Because I don't want to be witch hunted again, or persecuted, or hurt, or shut down. For speaking out, speaking my truth, because it had happened so many times. And so you learn, and I've learned over the years, to just not speak out at all. And then, so you go from speaking out so much and calling everything out for what it is, with some type of attachment to it, and then you get that, or without attachment, and then you just get beat down so many freaking times that you're just like, I'm not even going to speak out. Screw it. I'm tired. I'm tired of being, witch hunted and burned at the stake. Emotionally and in real life, in the past, And so, so 2 extremes, right? I'm speaking out, and then I'm getting in my feelings, and so I'm not speaking out. And then I came to a place where I've resolved certain psychology inside of myself because I've been through this certain thing that I'm about to share with you. I don't need to share with you the details, but I've formed a new friendship since I ended my relationship, and it's been a really sweet friendship, and I've really enjoyed it. There's a lot of similar psychology to me from the past that shows up in this person, and I had this experience, had been having this experience with her several times where I was noticing a certain psychology play out, and I wasn't going to say anything. But, you know, something blew my heart open recently, and so I decided to speak out because I knew I was going to take that risk. Because it's always a risk, and I was going to take that risk. I need to drink some more water. I was going to take that risk and just speak from like as neutral of a place as I could. And I did, and it I think it sent her off a little bit. And I got triggered because I was like, "Oh my God, she doesn't know what I'm talking about," and like, "Oh, I'm making myself look like an idiot," and "Oh, now I need to backtrack everything." But instead, I was just like, I'm going to take some space, and I just want to reiterate that I apologize for any negative impact that this may or may not have had. And so I took some space, gathered my thoughts, because I have been menstruating, and I was a little sleep deprived. But then I realized, I was like, nope, I said everything well, and I'm just going to reiterate it and like expound upon it more. And I was able to be clear and non-attached, but from a really conscious place of like, you know, using the teachings, I have more awareness of what that really means, right? And so I was able to give some feedback to her, and I think what was coming up for me that I've been noticing for a long time is just like, I have a fear of speaking out because of my age. Oftentimes I have friends that are older than me, and not by a little bit, but like a lot bit, like 10 plus years older than me. And, you know, and that was the case with my ex-partner. Like, he was always emphasizing our age gap and how young I was, and like, oh, you know, using it as a way to be like, oh, you just don't know. And I was just like, seeing his psychology, and I was like, well, I'm not going to say anything, but like, this heifer, there's a reason why you attracted someone 10 years younger than you, because you a child. Anyways, so, bless him. He's not, but, you know, that's where my psychology was at the time. And so, he had his moments, just like we all do. But, so with this friend, I realized I've been carrying this thing, this fear, because of the projections from the outside of like, because I never really cared about my age, and like that was never a thing until it was made a thing. Again, like I didn't care about my looks until it was made to be a thing. And so I was like, oh, I'm afraid, like, here comes this wisdom, you know, that I'm not attached to because I'm just observing. What wisdom is really pure observation. And so I'm making this observation, and I'm also making it from experience. So pure observation and experience equals wisdom. That's what wisdom is. Okay? When you can non-attach draw from the awareness of what you're observing in the outside world, and see the patterns and recognize yourself in it, and having compassion for the other human that you're witnessing go through something. And this was, I think, why this one hit so close to home, you know, was, and again, I didn't realize this until basically now-ish, as I was like sending her this message. I was like, I saw a pattern in her play out between her and her husband, and I've been seeing a pattern play out with her in regards to her projections of her husband and on her own emotional her own emotional turmoil and blindness to herself, because we all have our own blind spots, right? And so I finally got the courage, because we had built enough rapport and trust with each other, that I could be honest about like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Do with the information what you want. You know, this is how it impacted me, but I even want to take away that word impact, because this is how I interpreted the situation because of my experience. And like, I'm accepting you as you are, with where the level of consciousness that you're at and the way that you're able to handle a situation. And I also accept myself that I don't have to be around that. And I'm not making you wrong for being who you are. Like, you're who you are. I love and accept you for who you are. And I also love and accept myself for who I am. And I don't have to continue to put myself in those environments because I'm not a child anymore. And I think what's going on is like I watched my parents act all of that from an extreme place of like basically boiling down to punishing someone emotionally, using emotional manipulation and psychic manipulation to punish someone for our own feelings. So it's like not taking responsibility for ourselves, making ourselves a victim of our own circumstances from our own choices, and not being able to like articulate them without using those tactics. Because that's abuse. Like, even if it's mild. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I experienced growing up, was so much relational volatility from two people that did not want to take responsibility for their own selves and their own emotions. Like, this is big, y'all. This is huge. You don't understand. Like, a lot of my psychology and the decisions that I've made, especially around relationships, have totally been from this, from the impact from that turmoil that I watched growing up. And it's like, why did I choose parents to play that out? And why, you know, and then having that psychology play out in me for almost 30 years! Almost 30 years! You know, I've gotten so much better. I've gone through so much. And I just gotta also keep the time because I've got to go to freaking work. But, I just thought it was fascinating, yo. Isn't that fascinating? And so I realized, I'm like, oh, this is playing out outside me. And I get to choose, like, am I going to continue to try to, one, change people? Nope, learn my fucking lesson with that. I'm not going to try to change anyone. And, or do I want to just, from a non-attached place of compassion and love, bring something to someone's attention and be like, hey, this is what I see. Do you want to change this or not? Because then it's up to them. Like, you're leaving it up to them to do with it what they will. Like, you're not forcing anyone to change. You're just being like, hey, I observed this thing. And, like, bless it. Bless that free will choice. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you make change. You know? You don't do it from a separate self, like, that wants to change the world. You do it from just being yourself. And like, hey, this is what I'm observing, and not being afraid and just accepting that some people are not going to receive that. And I think I just didn't have the wisdom then to know. I didn't have the awareness or the maturity yet to know that like some people are just not ready to hear that. And you're using your discernment, you know, because maybe it was often, or even some of the times the case that I was communicating from this ego place of like knowing more and like having this motivation and this motive, MO, to bring something to someone's attention, you know what I mean? And I think it was the case in my, it's like an inner power struggle that I was projecting upon the matter light, projecting upon reality, projecting upon other people and relationships. So it was fascinating! And I just want to say, like, that friend I'm talking about, she gave me these earrings. She's really sweet. She's really awesome. And I have a blackhead on my lip. Well, I'm going to get ready to go to work, and I'm feeling pretty damn good about myself. I'm going to have to say, I'm feeling really proud. I'm feeling really good. I mean, life is good. All right. Mwah.